I'm letting go of a lot of things that I've been identifying with for a very long period of time that just no longer serve me. So I'm letting go of that idea that I am this fitness and nutrition person and that I am just me. Those are like the three things that I'm working on right now and letting go of, and I want you to be a part of this journey. Oh, also, y'all, my calluses from obviously not going to the gym and lifting heavy are like gone. Like my hands are the smoothest they've ever been. Pretty dope. Anyway, I feel like I've got some explaining to do. Not really. It's weird when you take a social media break because I just lost myself completely in it, and coming out of it, like, I'm telling you, it's like this veil has been like lifted off my face, and it was like the greatest blessing I needed that I didn't even really knew I needed. Sometimes I feel silly because I don't want it to come across like I'm like, oh my god, here I am again, everybody get excited for me to be back on social media. No, it's more of like, damn, like I'm actually excited to kind of get back now, get back onto social media and see what all my friends are up to and things like that, and share what I'm doing with you, because I finally feel like I'm in a much better place than I was when I decided to just say, peace, I need to figure my shit out. That started probably in the beginning of April, so it's been at least like a month and a half. And it's the longest I haven't been on social media, specifically Instagram. Instagram, when I say social media, I really do just mean Instagram. All other social media platforms don't do what they do to me like Instagram does. I want to explain a little bit of why I felt the need to pull myself off of social media, and having, I don't know, just always being present on it, always like showing up on it every single day and answering your questions and just showing you my life and things like that. And I've had that Instagram page since 2014, so 6 years, and this is the longest I've not been on it. So pretty crazy. And I know a lot of you have probably followed me maybe from the beginning. If you remember Courtney's Fitstagram, let me know. That's what the original name of the account was before I changed it to quarter_3. But anyway, I just want to kind of update you on what has been up in my world for the last month or two. So it all started when we got quarantined. And so I always work from home. I've worked from home and for myself for the past at least year and a half. And so I was used to being at home more and whatnot. Sam, my boyfriend, he was considered, or is considered, whatever is, I think it's still going on, I don't even know, whatever, an essential worker. So he was still going to work. I felt pretty dang normal, It wasn't like the quarantine really shook my world up, and for that I am grateful. I feel blessed and very lucky to say that. I know it was devastating for so many people. But anyway, just with being home and not really having anywhere to go to escape myself, escape my anxieties and my stressors and my thoughts and my emotions, it was like I was just put into this place with me, myself, and I couldn't ignore anything. I couldn't ignore any sort of feeling or emotion that I had. I'm the type of person who pushes a lot of my emotions down to not feel them because I don't know, they're just like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to feel sad. Even like genuine happiness, it's almost like I wouldn't even just give myself 30 freaking seconds, not even, maybe like 5 seconds to just feel the emotion and whatever. But anyway, so it's like I couldn't run away from my emotions anymore. I didn't really want to run away from them because I had become so aware of them. A lot of the emotions that I was feeling on a day-to-day basis weren't really that great. I wasn't that happy. I know that might sound like a surprise because I would show up on Instagram and be a ball of energy, and that wasn't a lie, or that wasn't even like me pretending or forcing it or anything like that. But it was almost like that was like the only time I really felt like I was, you know, energetic Cordo, kind of like how I am right now, I guess, just like in a good mood, good vibes are going, and now I feel like this all the time. With the quarantine, I started to become a lot more self-aware, and really started to kind of like observe myself a little bit more, like in my psyche, I suppose. And I was questioning why I was always feeling so on edge, because that's kind of what it was. I felt very on edge, and I also felt very disconnected. Those are the two best ways I can describe what I was feeling, because it's kind of hard to describe feeling sometimes when it's not just like sad and happy and angry, you know? It's like this weird mix of like a bunch of different emotions, so it's kind of hard to explain, but I think that disconnect and on edge are two really good words. So I was definitely always on edge. I was always just a little stressed out, and I was always just a little overwhelmed and a little anxious, and like it was almost like this like tipping point. I felt like I was like ready to just explode. And then I also felt very disconnected, and I've actually felt disconnected for a while. I'd say over the past year, I think starting to feel a little bit disconnected from my life happened or probably around the end or the beginning of 2019. So it's been like a year plus. Feeling very disconnected from everything. Myself, my just entire external 3D like life reality right here. You know, it was like I would physically be in places, but I wasn't mentally there. Like I wasn't actually fully present. It was like I was doing things almost out of habit and out of automatic, like this is just what I do sort of thing, without really even asking myself like, why do I do this, or do I actually even enjoy doing this? I realized I was doing a lot of things that I thought I had to do instead of doing what I wanted to do. And that was a big thing that I realized. You know, then I really wanted to figure out like, why am I feeling disconnected? Why am I feeling so on edge? And I started to just want to kind of figure those things out, and I began to realize that I wasted a lot of time that I wanted to spend with myself figuring these things out on Instagram, getting like completely like just lost, like almost like no conscious thoughts were going on. It was just all like subconscious, like scrolling mindlessly. And it really started to affect me. One thing that I've recently learned, I've learned a lot of things really recently, which I'm so excited to like share with you. I think they're going to be really cool, beneficial things. One thing that I've learned recently is that your subconscious mind will kind of remember all the things you see on Instagram and all the thoughts that you have, and kind of like connect those. So when I was scrolling on Instagram, I always felt like this sense of pressure and this sense of like competition, and like, damn, like how am I going to be or get more clients and be the face of this business like I was trying to build or am trying to build or whatever, you know? And all of the negative kind of self-thoughts were just subconsciously and very automatically happening as I scrolled through the app, even if I was looking at like a pretty picture or something, you know? That was the first thing. So I really started to kind of like spend a lot less time on Instagram and a lot more time just kind of with myself, being self-aware, observing my thoughts and things like that. So with just spending a little bit less time on Instagram every day, I was still feeling that on edge, like kind of stressed, kind of overwhelmed, like blah, 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 like freaking out sort of feeling inside. And I didn't know why, because I was spending less time on it. And then I realized that it's because even when I wasn't physically on the app, I was having thoughts of, okay, what am I gonna post? What kind of content am I gonna create? How am I gonna show up? Like, how am I gonna get more people to come to my page? How am I gonna be able to help more people? How can I get more clients so that I can help more people, you know? Like, how can I do this, do that, do that? Like, what do I have to do sort of thing? It was like, my brain was always filled and always going, like, in the back of my mind with thoughts of Instagram, and it was so mentally and energetically draining. And I finally realized that, and I was like, oh my God, like I've let this take me over. I've lost myself in this whole social media, Instagram world, which is something that I never thought I would do. Which is funny because the other time that I'm just having this realization now, so I'm actually getting a little emotional, but the last time that I remember saying that, like, oh, I can't believe this like happened to me sort of thing, or I can't believe I let that happen to me, you know, like I can't believe I let Instagram like take me over, was when I had my eating disorder. Got so taken over by anorexia, and I was like, how did I let this happen sort of thing? And then I had so much work to do to get myself out of those thoughts and restrictions and whatnot when it came to having that eating disorder. And I feel that way right now too. It's crazy. Regardless, that was just like a little side piece because that literally just like came up to me like right now as I'm recording, so I figured I'd share. So that is one of the two main reasons why I needed to not be on Instagram, because I needed to break the habit. I needed to break the addiction. True life, I'm addicted to Instagram. Not really. I mean, maybe. It kind of was like an addiction though, because I knew that it made me feel badly, you know? I knew that going on Instagram wasn't productive and wasn't making me feel my best, but yet I like needed to go on. I needed to know what other people are doing. I needed to know what questions people were asking me, and like I just needed that. And again, another thing that I've recently learned is that you do get addicted to those like stress emotions of, you know, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, like things like that. Like your body starts to get addicted to that feeling. I knew I needed to kind of just like boop, cut those ties and get Instagram out so that I could like retrain my brain and not have those subconscious thoughts anymore. And I'm telling you, the day that I said to myself, this is it, I'm not going on anymore, because I was also like procrastinating it for a while because I felt like I needed to like make an announcement to all of my friends, I am no longer going to post on Instagram. Okay, I'm kind of joking, but I did feel like I genuinely wanted to, and sort of, you know, felt like I owed it to my friends, followers, whoever, because I know there are a lot of people who genuinely like to see my page and like to see what I'm doing and posting and get, you know, really good energy and information and education, whatever it is, motivation, you know, from me. So I felt bad, and I felt like it was a selfish sort of thing to do without giving you a little heads up, but I also couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bring myself to post. I just like, I didn't want anything to do with it. And I'm telling you, the minute that I finally gave myself permission and, you know, to fully just not go on at all, I like veil lifted up and over my face. Finally gave myself the full permission to just say, no, I am not going on Instagram anymore. I can't feel guilty about it. I can't, you know, feel bad about it. I can't, you know, be wondering about who needs me, you know, because I need myself right now. I need to get my own shit together. So many more things started to become clear to me because I had so much more, I think, mental energy and mental just like capacity and focus to work on myself and become even more self-aware, you know, when Instagram wasn't like controlling my mind. I think one of the main reasons why I let Instagram kind of take me over, because to be honest, it really did. Like, I really lost my entire sense of self. And to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of the things that I was posting, a lot of the things I was doing was subconsciously with Instagram in mind. And that is hard to say and almost admit out loud, because if you just were, you know, following me on Instagram, you probably, I think, would have assumed that I had it all together and that I was super like connected and just felt really aligned with all the things I was doing. And there were times that I felt like I was on a very surface level, but I don't think that truly internally to my soul, like to who I really am, I don't think I was being true to myself at all. And that obviously has resulted in me not being true to you and everyone else who follows my Instagram. Everyone else like basically in my whole life. There is another reason why I didn't want to come back on Instagram or really be on Instagram, and it was because I really had to kind of figure out like what I'm doing, like my fitness and my own nutrition and what I believe in and what I personally stand for myself. So I was prepping, and I started prep November 2019, and I was going to compete the first weekend of May. So literally like 2 weeks ago, I would have been competing, which is crazy to think about. But then I was 4 weeks away from my show when the coronavirus and whatnot had pushed all of the shows forward. And then I was about 6 weeks out after I picked a new show, when I decided to kind of call prep off. There was a lot of reasons why I wanted to call it off. Mostly it was just, you know, at the time it was because I was like, okay, well, if I do want to compete at the end of the year, in the fall, in the winter, even early next year, then I want to give myself, my body, whatever, adequate time to recover, you know? Prep and all that nonsense takes a big old toll on you. So that was like the main reason why I kind of wanted to stop prepping. So after I decided to end that prep and go into my reverse diet, I really started to notice some other things that I was not necessarily a fan of. So while I was prepping, I had to do a lot of self-restriction. You know, it's just what you kind of have to do, you know. I wanted to prep for a lot of reasons. The last time I competed was 2015, 2016. 2016 was the last time I stepped on stage. So I wanted to prep again because I thought that, I don't know, I wanted to see if I could do it again. It was 3-4 years, you know, of kind of just being intuitive and living my life and whatnot. And I was like, well, you know, can I do it? Like, if there is any of a more perfect time, like it's like right now, you know, because it was this time last year actually when the thought of doing it came back to me. I've had that little itch before in my life, and I was like, what am I gonna do for the rest of my life? Just keep ignoring this feeling of wanting to compete again and wanting to try it again and be on stage? Like, I don't want to ignore it anymore. And I just had moved to North Carolina. I was away from my family, my friends. I didn't necessarily have anyone besides Sam and the family and like his brother and sister-in-law that we moved here with. So I was like, well, I may as well. I don't have many distractions. I can kind of just do whatever I want, sort of thing. And now it just seems like a beautiful time to do it. So told my coach that, and you know, we took all of 2019 to build muscle, get ready, all of that fun stuff. And I knew what I was getting myself into. I had done it before, you know, and everything was going really well. You know, I was progressing at a great rate, losing fat at a great rate. My physique looked freaking dope. Like, I really wasn't dying in terms of energy or even hunger that much. Like, everything was going so well. And I think that the self-restriction that I was doing, you know, I was just like, whatever, this is a part of it, which is true, it is, and I knew that. But then when prep was over and I wanted to start my reverse diet, I was left in this habit and in this thought process and all of these behaviors of self-restriction around food and exercise, and without prep in the picture, you know, it was like when I was prepping and having those thoughts and feelings, it was just like, whatever, I know what I have to do, this is just a part of it. But then once prep was over, it was like I was still left with all of those same thoughts and feelings and like mindsets and just behaviors around food and exercise. And that didn't feel good. And because prep was finally like kind of like out of the picture, kind of like Instagram, you know, like with Instagram out of the picture, it was almost like I could finally figure out like, well, why do I, you know, let myself get so lost in Instagram? And with prep kind of being out of the picture, it was like, okay, well, why am I having these, you know, these thoughts? Like, what is this? You know, I don't like feeling this way. I don't like these thoughts at all. They're not making me feel good. They're very heavy, very like negative, just controlling, like the reins are pulled so freaking tight kind of thoughts. The way that I felt and the thoughts that I was having reminded me so much of when I was struggling with my eating disorder. And now I'm not saying I like got tossed back into my eating disorder and like this is like a whole big thing now. No. I'm not back in my eating disorder at all. The difference is that when I had an eating disorder, you know, I let the thoughts that I was having control my actions. Whereas now I was aware of the thoughts I was having and I wasn't physically acting on them. I was like, okay, I'm having all these thoughts that are telling me to restrict my food and to hold back and to push this meal off, and having thoughts, you know, to not eat before I work out, or, you know, chug a lot of water so I'm not hungry. So like all these just silly and whatever thoughts around food, which when I was prepping helped and made sense, but I was like, I'm not prepping anymore. I don't want to have these thoughts, you know? And when I realized that that was the difference between then, when I had an eating disorder, and now, I knew that I could not continue to track. I knew I couldn't reverse diet the way I had intended to. I couldn't reverse diet the right way, because continuing to restrict myself and only allow myself to eat within these certain guidelines, boundaries, whatever, is just going to reinforce the thoughts that I'm having. If I allow myself to continue to act in the same way, the thoughts that I'm having are going to be justified, and I don't want to justify those thoughts. It's like I have to do different things than what my thoughts are telling me so that I can form new thoughts, you know? And that was really hard, and that was another reason why I was like, I need to just take time off of Instagram, because I had shared, you know, my prep with you, and logically the next step to me was supposed to share my reverse diet with you, you know? And it was really hard because I like mentally couldn't reverse diet. I knew it wasn't going to be good for me. I knew it was going to keep instilling those restrictive thoughts and behaviors in my mind. And I didn't want that. I wanted to get away, and I wanted to break those thoughts. I was inspired by Stephanie Buttermore. I don't know if you follow her or have seen any of her all-in journey in regards to her diet, but basically she had this sense of uncontrollable just like hunger and appetite. Like she was always hungry, always wanted to eat more, but you know, like kind of like self-restricted because she knew she like had to eat if she wanted to maintain her body, sort of things. And so I was really inspired by that. I watched like all of her videos about her all-in journey, and I was like, I think this is what I need to kind of do for myself. Like it wasn't, you know, the same as her, you know, I wasn't eating 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day like she was when she went all in, you know, but I allowed myself to eat and to live unrestrictedly. I didn't want to have restrictions around food. So I would wake up, and it was really freaking hard in the beginning because I was in such a habit and such a mindset or whatever, just automatic thoughts of like what I do, which is like to skip breakfast. But I was like hungry, and I like knew I was hungry and I wanted to eat, right? But like the automatic thoughts and subconscious thoughts were telling me, no, you can't eat till 12, you know, because that's what I would do on prep, sort of thing. And I had to break that habit. I didn't want that to get more instilled. So I had to like wake up and eat breakfast. And it was great because I was hungry. Like it was like I was so freaking excited and thankful for it. But then at the same time was also like freaking out because that wasn't my normal. That wasn't what I was used to. And so it kind of just, again, instilled or made it more apparent to me that this is what I needed to do in order to change those thoughts around food. So I did my own little all-in journey, I suppose. I guess I'm still in my all-in journey, you know. I'm, you know, just allowing myself to eat whatever I want, when I want, and I will say 80% of the time, like, I'm eating good, wholesome, and nutrient-dense foods. That's just what I love, and I realize the more food I allow myself to eat, it's also what I crave more. But I've definitely still have my fair share of, like, junk food and whatnot. So, but it has been great, and it was hard, you know, in terms of ending a prep and, you know, feeling like, damn, I need a reverse diet. I wanted to reverse diet. I genuinely wanted to maintain my body as much as I could, you know, which is like silly now that I think about it. But yeah, so I deleted my fitness pal off my phone, and again, that was just like another reason why I felt like I had to come off, or not really just be on Instagram, because one, there were other people in the same boat that I was in, like still kind of prepping or having their shows like postponed and whatnot, and saying like, oh my goodness, like, you can still be a great athlete and you can still prep and you can like use this time wisely, you know, things like that. And that would like make me kind of feel guilty, or like, oh my God, should I still be like pushing myself? Like, you know, my body still looks pretty good. Like I could still do it, you know, sort of thing. And then again, it was just honestly because I love to share like fitness and nutrition with you. It's always been a huge part of my life. I love it so much, you know, tips, tricks, just education about true nutrition so you don't get lost in the fad diets out there. But I just was like, I don't even know how I feel about nutrition. I felt like I was talking about tracking your macros a lot and how beneficial they can be, which is what I still, you know, they still are. I still believe that. But at the time, and still right now, they're not beneficial for me. Like I haven't been tracking anything over the past month and a half. At all, you know, and like I said, I deleted my fitness pal, and I just was like, I don't even know what to say on Instagram, because I felt like all of my posts were always about nutrition and fitness, but I didn't even know like what I was thinking about it. And so I had to kind of just like spend time wrapping my head around it again. That is kind of what happened when prep ended. I did not reverse diet. I'm not reverse dieting. I decided to take it upon myself, and it was a very hard conversation to have with my coach. We worked together for over a year, and we've put so much work and effort in together, and he gave me so much of his time and energy and all of this, and I do feel so badly about it, but at the same time, I know that this is my truth and this is my current reality and what I have to do in order to have a happy headspace that isn't filled with these negative, subconscious, controlling, restrictive thoughts.